Hello YouTube, Shadow Hero 90 here. As you can already tell, I've been doing this show for about 3 years at this point, and in addition to the reasons as to why I do this, which I brought up last year, I am now actually going to state a few more reasons why I do this. One of which is that the portrayal of men in movies and TV is essentially toxic. And I mean really toxic. Men are... To be honest, I can't believe that I'm one of the only very few people who legitimately thinks that this kind of portrayal is not only toxic, but completely unfair. Second of which is the fact that these cartoons are aimed at kids, and they do not send a good message. Most of the time, a lot of these shows are role model shows, and the characters exist for the sole purpose to be imitated, and yeah, in doing so, you send some really horrible messages. And the last possible reason I could think of is that not this, but all these shows are pushing a political agenda. To be more precise, the political agenda comes in the form of a princess character whose initials are J and B. I'm pretty sure you can figure out who I'm talking about on those initials alone. But yes, a lot of these shows, and to extension, a lot of these role model shows, are pushing a political agenda. And as a white heterosexual man, I really don't want kids being indoctrinated because it could lead to a bad future. In fact, I really hope some really smart boy sees this show and it actually gets him thinking about sexism, and it causes him not to be indoctrinated to the feminist agenda that a lot of TV shows, cartoons, and movies are pushing. Especially a certain movie that will go unnamed that used a princess character whose initials are J and B to push their political agenda. As much as this intro actually does seem like a bad rant about the negative presentation of men and boys in the media, this is completely serious, and these 3 reasons I gave for doing the show are actual reasons. Now, that being said, if you agree with me on this, that's good. So just sit back and enjoy the review. Okay, on this episode of Sexism in Movies and TV, I'm going to be ripping apart the 2006 superhero comedy, My Super Ex-Girlfriend. And this is going to work exactly like my Ghosts of Girlfriends Past review. I'm going to read the Wikipedia article, and then I'm going to tell you how bad it was compared to my own assumption. But first, I'll give you my assumption. These two are dating. Okay, I read the Wikipedia article, and yeah, this is basically how I assumed it would go, point for point, only worse. These two are dating, and then they break up. She takes advantage of her superpowers to publicly humiliate him, throws his car into space, and when she finds out he's now in a relationship with someone else, he actually got a new girlfriend, she basically attacks them with a great white shark. I mean, this is deranged. We never got anything like this between Superman and Lois Lane. I mean, for shit's sake, this guy is a loser. If G-Girl, the main character's hero form, is gonna go out of her way to ruin this guy's life and any future relationship he could ever have just 'cause he broke up with her, why the hell hasn't he gone to the police and told them G-Girl's secret identity? Hell, I can't even imagine that this movie didn't basically have the public turn against G-Girl and label her a criminal. That's something that her arch nemesis could easily use to his advantage. Considering the fact that this guy actually does go to G-Girl's arch enemy for help. Yeah, it's literally that bad. When our supposed superhero is tormenting an innocent person for what seems to be the unforgivable crime of breaking up with her, he goes to a criminal mastermind for help. This movie is completely fucked up. I mean, I have no clue who at 20th Century Fox thought this was a good idea, but they were clearly out of their mind. The villain agrees to help this guy under the circumstances that he then retires from being a supervillain. This movie has a very, very poor opinion of men. They paint them as so dumb that they would believe that a criminal mastermind would give up their life of crime in exchange for defeating the local superhero. If anything, it's more likely that he'd take this guy hostage, threaten G-Girl, well, use him as bait to lure G-Girl into a trap. G-Girl would say no, and this guy would end up dead. Like an idiot, which is how they portray him. So anyways, at one point G-Girl loses her powers. The villain reveals that he had no intention on keeping his promise. What a friggin' shocker. and he gets into a fight with this guy. Now, this is kind of where the movie actually bombs. Way more than it could have on its own. When this guy actually fights the supervillain who is trying to steal G-Girl's powers, you could have easily had it so the powers go into him, and he is the one who defeats the bad guy, and that would have been a very satisfying conclusion, and either give G-Girl a little bit of payback, or show that he's more mature than her and just walk away, showing that she screwed herself. But nope, that's by no means what they do. Instead, both G-Girl and the new girl get powers, and they defeat the villain. The villain goes out, but instead, both G-Girl and Hannah get powers. So now there are two female superheroes instead of one. They defeat the villain, and the next day they both leave to fight crime. Well, Matt basically goes out for a drink with the man who tried to kill him less than 24 hours ago. Because apparently all men are alcoholic buffoons. In short, this review was just like the episode where I reviewed Ghost of Girlfriends Past. It's a review of a live-action movie that does not think highly of men and basically writes them out to be stupid, have no ethics whatsoever, because look at it. You're either a retarded mongoloid. What this movie says about men is completely fucked up. I mean, you're either a retard like this guy, or you're a villain. That is a horror. I mean, this isn't aimed at kids, but this is a feminist power fantasy. In all fairness, this movie is a piece of shit, just like Ghosts of Girlfriends Past was. And I'm putting the link to that in the description, because it's pretty ironic I compare those two movies, because both are essentially feminist propaganda. In this, if you don't put up with, well, the man doesn't put up with this cunt's behavior, so she ruins his life. In Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, if you treat women the way they treat you, you're apparently a selfish piece of shit who deserves, well, I don't know, but apparently to be alone. In all fairness, my super ex-girlfriend is a fucked up piece of shit movie that should have never even gone into production. This movie is the superhero